Hello there and a very good evening to you all. Many thanks for joining us here on Rwanda Television. We hope you had yourselves a very productive day. Now, top of our edition tonight, these are our headlines. The Minister of Infrastructure has told senators that up 102 billion Rwandan francs is required to effectively implement measures meant to reduce the occurrence of accidents on Rwanda's roads. The Rwanda Mines Petroleum and Gas Board (RMB) announced that from April to June 2023, Rwanda exported 6,638,588 kilos of minerals worth $362,368, which is more than 430 billion Rwandan francs. And on the international scene, a perfect storm of war abroad and drought conditions at home are fueling uncertainty in the U.S. agricultural sector.
Money.
Once again, we're very glad to have your company tonight, coming to you straight from the heart of Africa, Kigali. My name is Martina Avera. Now let us begin our bulletin by informing you that this afternoon at Urugwiro Village, President Paul Kagame received outgoing German ambassador to Rwanda, Dr. Thomas Kurs, for a farewell meeting as he ends his tour of duty. The good relationship between Rwanda and Germany is reflected in various sectors, including health, governance, education, and economic development. Now, the Minister of Infrastructure has told senators that up to 102 billion Rwandan francs is required to effectively implement measures meant to reduce the occurrence of accidents on Rwanda's roads. Between 2020 and 2022, as many as 12,820 accidents were reported in Rwanda, resulting in 1,226 fatalities. We have more on this report.
All you have to do is to visit the headquarters of the National Police, the offices of insurance companies, or even hospitals to realize just how frequently accidents occur here in Rwanda. I was involved in a hit-and-run accident and was not able to see the number plate of the vehicle that struck me. I'm still getting treatment for my injuries and I am unable to work, so paying the medical bills is a serious challenge. I would like you to do advocacy on my behalf so that I may get my bicycle back and for that vehicle to be identified because I had to seek medical treatment after the accident. The consequence of that is that I am now unemployed. Because at that time I had been a taxi motorcyclist for only 2 months and my wife does not have a job either. My hospital bills were too great for me and I had to sign papers promising to pay the money before a specified time. Appearing before senators on Tuesday, the Minister of Infrastructure informed them that between 2019 and 2022, the country's Special Guarantee Fund had to pay out close to 1.524 billion Rwandan francs because of road accidents involving 599 vehicles without insurance. The senators also pointed out that 80% of vehicles in Rwanda are over 15 years old and some do not even have certificates from the Motor Vehicle Inspection Center and are still in use, which only makes accidents all the more likely to happen. It has become clear that most of the school buses that operate in urban areas are very old and do not have the required papers, making them roadworthy, causing many accidents. It is not uncommon to see bicycles carrying objects so large, like mattresses and things like pipes, that they distort their size, making them wider or longer than they should be, and passing them becomes a challenge. Up to 298 locations on roads around the country have been identified as being the most prone to accidents, but as some local residents point out, nothing has been done about it. This corner causes many accidents because drivers coming from Nyabugogo tend to take it at speed and strain to the opposite lane. Everybody knows that is a problem and something should be done about it. In November last year, the Rwanda National Police's traffic department announced that 597 people were killed by accidents in 2018, 673 in 2019, 675 in 2020, and 655 in 2021. Road accidents account for 6.41% of all deaths in the country. The implementation of measures to reduce road accidents and their devastating effects require more than 100 billion Rwandan francs in total.
metero ibihumbi 23,200
zashyizweho crash barriers.
23,200 meters of roadways have been installed with crash barriers out of the 78,834 that need them. That is an implementation rate of 30% since January this year. 4,185 road signs have been put up out of the 10,464 required. That operation is still ongoing countrywide. 173,544 square meters of roadway have received fresh paint to outline important markings out of the 385,653 square meters required. In Kigali, the roads receive a fresh coat of paint twice a year, while in the provinces it is once every 2 years. As part of the central bank's monetary policy and financial stability statement that was published in March this year, it was noted that as of December 2022, 17,179 people had been involved in road accidents, up from 14,591 in December of the previous year, and 6,351 in December 2020. The December 2022 report recorded 7,918 serious injuries, up from 5,928 in December of the previous year, while as of December 2020, 2,704 serious injuries had been recorded during that year. The death figures in December 2022 were 729, up from 655 in December 2021 and 687 in December 2020.
Officials in the Ministry of National Unity and Civic Engagement have noted that even though unity in the country has remained at a favorable level, this should not be an excuse for anyone to do anything that breaks the law and undermines the progress of the country that has made. Meanwhile, there are Rwandan youth that stress that older generations should not make them prisoners of the past by clinging on to tribalism that nearly destroyed the country decades ago. We have more on this report. Now, the Rwandan Mines Petroleum and Gas Board (RMB) announced that from April to June 2023, Rwanda exported 6,638,538 kilos of minerals worth $362,368,000 which is more than 430 billion Rwandan francs. According to the National Strategy for Transformation, the country plans to generate 1.5 billion Rwandan dollars. Narcisse Dushimi, the head of Mining Regulation and Inspection Department, points out some of the factors that led to the increase in the exports of minerals.
This increase is a result of various efforts that we have been putting in, especially in promoting mineral value addition. So as we speak now, we have different value addition facilities in Rwanda, namely the Karuma Tin Smelter, which is smelting cassiterite ore. We have gold refinery in free economic zone in Masoro, and we have tantalum refinery in Bugesera, free economic zone, and we also have different gemstone cutting and polishing factories or small factories that are adding value to other categories of minerals that are called gemstones. So all these combined contributing, increasing the revenues that we are getting from the sector. The second thing that is contributing to this increase is what we can call mineral diversification. In Rwanda, we used to mine like 4 commodities, namely cassiterite, tungsten, gold. So very recently we've discovered other minerals which are highly demanded. These are lithium, beryllium, and amblygonite. So these other minerals are used in making batteries for electric vehicles, and they are found in bulk. So the export of these minerals is also contributing to the increase that we have realized in this quarter. The third thing that is hugely contributing is the professionalization of the sector that we have embarked on. we are now trying to see if we can mobilize and encourage private operators to hire graduates from the University of Rwanda and the IPRC, and they are doing so, and this is also contributing to productivity and production of the mines. And of course, in terms of quantity, we have realized an increase of 12% if you compare the two quarters, quarter 2 and quarter 1. So all these efforts are now making all this to happen. We are supposed to reach 800 million USD this year, this calendar year, and if we are at 400 after this second quarter, so we are hopeful that at the end of the year we will be there, and of course we continue to put more effort so that we can achieve the next year target, which is 1.5 million USD. The mining sector is promising. If you can look at the trend from the back 2017 and look at where we are now, so there is a big change, a positive change. And when you look at the efforts that we are investing in, and also when you look at the demand, the globally, so the mining sector is promising. So I'm saying this because even though we did not do extensive exploration where to the level we can confirm the reserves and the potential that we have, people are still mining using their few means, but at least we are seeing some realizations on the market. So if things continue in this trend, and I see the sector very, very promising.
Members of the Senate Committee on Economic Affairs are worried that the problems that the Water and Sanitation Corporation, also known as WASAC, are facing could interfere with the country's commitment to provide water to all citizens. We have more. It has been more than 3 months since some of the residents of different parts of Kigali City haven't had access to clean water, and there are infrastructures, including reservoirs and taps, that have been built in order to prevent them from using dirty water and prevent them from traveling long distances to get it. Some say it is a road widening that is destroying some of the pipes and that the repairing process is also delayed. The only issue we have right now is the lack of water. They tell us that due to the ongoing infrastructural projects, the water pipes end up being collateral damage. We ask, however, that they fix this issue as soon as possible because the lack of water is contributing to so many problems, such as lack of hygiene. This problem is not only faced by those living in Kigali, because other residents around the country also say that they have access to water infrastructure, but it has been more than 2 years since they have been able to fill up a jerrycan of water. An example is what is said by the residents of Nyaruguru and Gisagara on the Nyabimata-Kigembe water distribution channel.
If it is possible to raise this concern to the responsible authorities, it would truly help us a lot. We really need water here at this facility as well as in our homes. Sometimes residents are caught up in disputes due to the insufficient provision of water that they all want access to.
In a conversation that the members of the Senate Committee on Economic Affairs had with the WASAC management, they found out that the people were not satisfied with the service provided by the corporation.
Whenever a water pipe bursts and a resident calls the responsible authorities, which is you, WASAC, the issue can even last a whole week without being resolved. It is something I have witnessed with my own eyes, and it is a problem that existed even with the previous WASAC management. You find that water has been spilling for a week, and that is just a total waste.
WASAC Acting Chief Executive Officer Umuhumuza Giselle says that this corporation is threatened by a series of problems, but they have started to do something as a plan to ensure that the mistakes that have been made will not be repeated in the future, to the extent that 68 out of 118 pieces of advice that were given to them by the Auditor General of Rwanda have been followed. The first thing to do as people who work in WASAC is make this issue a priority day in and day out. For example, if you call us to let us know that a pipe has burst, I make sure that at least in 30 minutes we have arrived at the scene to fix the issue. The second thing is to work on the planning and execution of our projects. We have to make sure that we concentrate our efforts on where it is mostly needed. The third thing is to continue the works of expansion on the water pipelines. It has been a while since the reports of the Auditor General of Rwanda showed reports of how WASAC is misusing the resources allocated for water distribution activities, mainly due to poor planning and execution of certain projects. All these errors, the senators say, are obstacles that will make the government's 7-year plan to distribute water to the whole population unachievable. In the 2022 Auditor General's report for WASAC, it is revealed that the water treatment industry is operating at a very low level of capacity. Out of 25 industries, 11 industries are operating at a rate of less than 75% of their capacity. In this report, the Auditor General of Rwanda pointed out that WASAC had more than 68 million cubic meters of water processed in the year that ended on the 30th of June 2022. WASAC only sold more than 37 million cubic meters, which accounts to 55%. This means that over 30 million cubic meters, which is 45%, weren't sold. That left WASAC with a loss of 9.9 billion Rwandan francs. Officials in the Ministry of National Unity and Civic Engagement have noted that even though unity in the country has remained at a favorable level, this should not be an excuse for anyone to do anything that breaks the law and undermines the progress the country has already made. Meanwhile, there are Rwandan youth that stress that older generations should not make them prisoners of the past by clinging on to the tribalism that nearly destroyed the country decades ago. We have more on this story.
It has now been 29 years since the soldiers of what used to be the Rwanda Patriotic Army stopped the genocide against the Tutsi and liberated the country, a genocide that had its roots in hate associated with tribalism. Sadly, however, even now it is clear that not everyone understands the gravity of a problem like divisionism. I recently went to Musanze and spoke to members of the private sector there, and they told me that it is difficult for shop owners who migrate from elsewhere to get a loyal customer base among the locals. When you go to other places such as Muhanga, you find the same problem. Those sorts of identities are bad, yet we do nothing about it and in the process slowly lose our unity and create a problem. Not long ago, something called the Chibuye Solidarity had been set up, an identity for people from that area, but it was a negative force because it excluded all others. It is important to make a certain distinction. Associations are allowed, but they cannot break the law. Genocide survivors came together to be able to rebuild their lives, but their offspring cannot legally do the same thing because the situation that their parents found themselves in does not apply to them now. Their doing that would be wrong and it would be a problem. We must be careful not to disrupt our journey towards our shared goal as a country. Young people are therefore denouncing older generations that have allowed themselves to cling on to hate and say that they want nothing to do with it. Divisionism, whatever it may be based on, could lead us astray. It doesn't matter if it is based on geographical areas, religions, or tribes. None of that is good and contradicts our unity as Rwandans. It should also be noted that our unity was paid for with the blood of young Rwandans, which is why we cannot allow anyone to bring back that divisionism that has the potential to take us back to that terrible time. As young people, the lesson for us is to resist such things that seek to divide us because as the future of the country, we must avoid the sort of consequences that arise from such bad decisions. That is why I urge young people to hold on to our unity, because our future is bright as long as our identity as Rwandans stands. As law experts point out, that identity is upheld and protected by the law. The second fundamental principle of the Constitution states that the government is committed to uprooting all forms of divisionism based on tribalism, geographical locations, and more. Article 10 of the Constitution, as part of that fundamental principle, strongly emphasizes what is called the unity of Rwandans and stresses that it must be given the priority among the 6 fundamental principles of the country. That is the reason even political parties ended up changing their names. Parties that used to be called the Christian Democratic Party, or PDC, and PDI, the Islamic Democratic Party. They both changed their names to avoid breaking the law. The law also stresses that the government cannot be based on a religion, that it must be secular. The senator also points out that no one is above the law. Even when it comes to the President of the Republic, the Constitution requires him to respect the unity of Rwandans when appointing cabinet members and other government officials, as well as the 8 senators that come from him. Even when you turn away from the law and look at government policies in general, you will see that they are based on the 3 pillars that the President himself put forward: our unity, accountability, and a broad mindset. The Ndi Umunyarwanda initiative is simply not compatible with tribalism, which is why I believe that only the unity of Rwandans will allow us to attain the sort of development we long for, with people living in harmony. The latest figures currently put the unity of Rwandans at 96%, and encouraging as that may sound, the concerned authorities have continued to warn that the remaining 6% can be all it takes to start the gradual collapse of all the country has achieved if people are not careful.
On Tuesday, Professor Nshuti Manasseh, the Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, received 138 children and young people from the Rwandan diaspora community from Switzerland, the United Kingdom, and Belgium who are in Rwanda in a 5-day program of learning the Rwandan culture. Professor Nshuti Manasseh urged them to preserve and appreciate their culture and also take into account Rwandan values.
I want to first thank the parents because these are children of Rwanda and this is their country. But I want to also urge these children to preserve our culture. Our culture is our identity and makes us who we are, separating us from people from other nations. I want to urge you to appreciate our culture, because sometimes when you start adopting the cultures of other people, you lose our Rwandan values. You are free to take up any nationality that you want, be it in the UK or elsewhere, but you will never belong to that country alone. Whether you go to Switzerland or anywhere else, just remember that Rwanda is your home.
Some of the young people from the diaspora say that they expect to learn more about the history and culture of their country, Rwanda.
I think I want to know about how, as a country, we've progressed over the past decade and a bit. We've got to know about our country, about where we're from, and we've got to be proud to be from here, from Rwanda. And the best way to do so is to know more about our country and the culture, to really be involved within what our country is about.
I used to live here a few years ago for 2 years, and then I went back to London, so this is my second time. I'm hoping to learn more about the culture, more about my background, and hopefully meet new people as well. I think it's important for all the Rwandese people who don't live in Rwanda, who it's their first time coming here. I think it's important for us to learn more about our culture and our background, and from where our parents grew up and where they're from, to understand more about us, so that when we go back to London, we can, tell more people about where we're from.
To learn about the culture, the history, and what makes Rwanda so great, just like the trials and tribulations we've been through, kind of, and what makes us what we are today.
And on behalf of the news production team and I, once again, we would like to thank you for sticking with us on RTV News. My name still is Martina Ebera. Have yourselves a great night.